What's up, people? Joe Winko here, your favorite Hawaiian guy, and here's my next episode of Joe Winko Talk. This isn't gonna be. Well, first, I want to say that I'm not wearing my bandana right now, as you all probably know, as you all should notice, hopefully. I just didn't feel like wearing it this episode because I don't really want the bandana to define me at all. Um, well, actually, I just didn't feel like wearing it this episode. I want you guys to know what I look like without it, too. So, yeah, that's the reason why I'm not wearing it right now. So, um, as I was saying, this isn't going to be a personal episode, but it is going to kind of be a personal episode on some level, but it isn't really going to be about me that much. It's going to be about someone or someone's else. It's this news story that happened way back in 2004, and it's crazy that I'm saying that, way back in 2004. I remember year 2004. Gosh, I'm getting old now. It's quite controversial. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I've recently been obsessed with this story lately for some reason. Like, I'm not obsessed with the people involved, I'm just obsessed with the story itself. And since my whole YouTube channel is to share with you guys what goes on in my head, the whole point of this video is to share with you guys what goes on in my head when I think about this story. And this story is going to be the Deborah LaFay sex scandal that happened back in 2004. Um, so yeah, Deborah LaFay, she was this really pretty girl who was a teacher, and she was having an affair with her student, and it gained like national, or I believe even worldwide, media attention because she was like drop dead gorgeous, but she was having an affair with her 13 and 14-year-old student. And you see stories like this all the time nowadays, really, and it's always like really pretty women having affairs with their students. But this was way back in 2004, and I think because she was so pretty, she kind of reminds me of Christina Aguilera a little bit. Um, this was made like major headlines all over. And there was this whole like documentary about it and this whole interviews and everything that Matt Lauer did, ironically. Yeah, Matt Lauer, the guy who's being charged with sexual harassment. That's what I've heard. And that's what's circling around the news, apparently, from what I've heard. I haven't really looked into that very much, but that's worthy of a whole new episode of Joe Winko Talk. Um, I actually I'll have the link to the whole documentary in the pinned comment, but I have a scaled down version of the documentary right here, and I'm gonna play it right now, and I'm gonna like react to it right now so you guys can see. It's scaled down, it's not the whole entire thing, otherwise this episode of Joe Winko Talk would be way too long. NBC News. But, let me get it up real quick. Okay, I got it. You guys knew what I meant, you sickos. Okay. 3, 2, 1, now.
An NBC News exclusive, Deborah LaFay, crossing the line. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Lauer. So a new school year begins and your teenager comes home talking about how much he likes one of his teachers. Your first thought might be, good, I hope he learned something. But the parents of one 14-year-old in Florida were not happy about what their son was learning from a teacher in his school. Her name was Deborah LaFay, and she's one in a string of young female teachers who've admitted having sex with underage male students. Tonight, in an exclusive interview, Deborah LaFay tells her side of the story, what she learned in school about herself. What's the reaction you get in the street from people who recognize you?
Snickers, stares. Mothers would hold their children tightly when they saw me.
Obviously, do it in front of you?
Obviously.
People say bad things to you?
That's Deborah LaFay.
No autographs? Okay, that was a lame joke. Ignore me.
The title of America's most notorious school teacher. In 2004, Deborah Beasley LaFay was arrested at the home of a middle school student, accused of having sex with him at her apartment, in her car, in her classroom. She was 23. He was 14.
You know, there was a teacher arrested 2 days after me And I saw her on TV once.
So why do you think you got all the attention?
I don't know.
I'll say it. Do you think it's because you're pretty?
I think so. And sex sells.
She says to fully understand her, you have to go back years to her childhood in a small town near Tampa, Florida. And Deborah says there
Florida.
was a trauma buried in her past.
When you were 13 years old, 8th grade, you were raped by someone you knew. Tell me about that.
The first time that it happened was in school. He forced me into a bathroom and began to rape me. And a teacher walked in and she let us off the hook.
Well, you say she let us off the hook. I mean, what did you do wrong? Why did she have to let you off the hook?
Well, she had no clue that I was being raped. You know, I'm assuming, just thought we were messing around.
Why didn't you say, this boy's raping me?
It just doesn't happen like that. I had a lot of fear.
It doesn't happen
You know,
like
when
that.
somebody has that kind of control over you, especially at 13. I didn't tell anybody.
Who was this young man in your life? I mean, was he someone you were close with?
Yeah, he was actually one of my boyfriends.
Deborah says that early abusive relationship with an older boy
That's messed
forever
up.
shaped her view of sex. Her first big job at age 18 was for a magazine called Makes and Models.
What?
Which you smile at now, which was basically they would have beautiful women and cars.
Right.
And
That's so
motorcycles
not
and things like
fair.
that. How did you
I'll
feel
get back
about
to
it
this
when you were
eventually,
It's
but
ridiculous.
Did you ever think these pictures could come back and haunt me in some way?
No,
I want to be a model.
Never gave it a thought.
never.
She wouldn't be a model for long. Deborah majored in English at the University of South Florida with the goal of becoming a teacher, and took a job as an 8th grade reading teacher at Greco Middle School in Temple Terrace, a suburb of Tampa. By all accounts, her first year went well.
I always wanted to be a teacher. Like I said, I used to play school with my dolls.
The middle school teacher had been having sex with a 14-year-old boy at her school. But rather than trying to keep her affair secret, she seemed to be flaunting it.
And that was the first time.
You had intercourse with him at school.
Yes.
School was out, and Deborah grew even more reckless. The next day, she drove the student to Ocala, 100 miles north, to visit his 15-year-old cousin.
And she
Picked
took
up
him
the
on a
cousin
road
at his
trip.
home. Deborah gave him the car keys. Then she climbed in back and had sex with the 14-year-old.
It seems like there are a lot of contradictions here.
Oh,
because
there is.
on the one hand, you're saying you're a modest person, yet you've had sex in a car with a 14-year-old while his cousin's driving. You don't let your midriff show, but there are these photos of you on a posing.
I think that's different, and I was 18.
Yeah,
2
Matt
days
Lauer.
later, June 17th, she and the boy again drove to Ocala and picked up the cousin. They all went to a park. While the cousin made a phone call, Deborah and the boy again had sex in the back of Deborah's SUV.
How did you explain yourself when you would show up in Ocala? Here's a place 100 miles from where you live. How would you explain why you were there?
Nobody really, all of his friends that were out there were, high-fiving him and saying, oh yeah, she is hot, blah, blah, blah. So there was really no one that I saw. I didn't know anybody. I felt that I was a peer of theirs.
After sex, she took the boys out for smoothies or shopping. She was even captured on a store security camera, in the briefest of sundresses, buying a present for her husband, with her underage lover and his cousin standing nearby. Soon, detectives questioned the boy, confirmed his story, and had him call Deborah while they listened in.
You did say this, yeah.
I did. Did you?
Yeah.
So it's not over? God! Why can't you ever just said go? Not yet. That kind of sucked.
Clearly, to me, that sounds very childish.
Yeah, it
it's
did.
not over. That's not something that an adult would say.
There were still charges pending in Ocala, and the judge there rejected a plea deal, saying her crime demanded she do time. He scheduled a trial. But then, a big surprise.
My lawyer, John, called me and he said, they dropped the charges. I was like, what? They dropped the charges. The state dropped the charges.
The victim's mother had told prosecutors she did not want her son to have to testify, did not want to put a teenage boy under the hot lights that followed Deborah LaFave everywhere.
Yeah, they'll do it.
Ultimately, the media intensity was a benefit to us.
Infamy has its privileges.
Yeah, I know all too well about that. Infamy has its privileges. I don't know. But, yeah, that's basically what happened. So let me just give you a rundown of what she did. She was a teacher, an 8th grade teacher, was having an affair with her 13, 14-year-old student. She had sex with him in the classroom, according to that video, and she also took him on a road trip to Ocala, not once, but twice, and had sex with him during the road trip. Eventually, people started to spot her in Ocala. Then they called her parents. Not her parents, but the boy's parents. The boy's parents confronted the boy, and they made him confess to it and everything. So then they called the cops. The cops questioned him, confirmed his story. Then they had him with a wire and everything, kind of like the Eileen Wuornos case, except without the murders and the robberies and shit like that. And then he invited her over, but it was really a trap, and then the police arrested her. They put her in jail, and she was going to be charged, but the boy refused to testify. Well, his mother didn't want him to testify because she didn't want the paparazzi and the cameras and the lights and the news reporters to be following him around everywhere because the story gained so much media attention. So instead, those charges in Ocala were dropped, but she was still found guilty. She didn't go to jail or anything, but she lost her job and she became a sex offender, and now she's working as a waitress somewhere, and that's kind of, well, according to that documentary, I'm not sure if she's still working as a waitress now, but that's basically it. So yeah, that was just a rundown of what happened. But I did want to show you the documentary just so you guys knew exactly which story I was talking about. And I'll have the link to the full documentary in the pinned comments. And you know, it's really ironic that Matt Lauer was doing the documentary since he's being accused of sexual harassment and since he was fired for it. So the thing is, Deborah went through hard stuff in her life. Her sister was killed by a drunk driver, and she was sexually assaulted when she was young. And you know, Matt Lauer didn't understand when she was saying that they let them off the hook. Because he said, oh, well, why didn't you say help? Because it really doesn't work that way. If you're being, like, cornered by someone. But you know, the teacher should have knew that something was up. They shouldn't have just, like, walked away and overlooked it, really. They should have stopped it. And I felt sorry for her that no one helped her during that. Because that's really messed up and that's really shameful. I can't imagine what she went through. And you know, I'm not saying what she did was not good because she broke the law. So there's no excuse for it. But she did have some serious psychological issues. And you know, before I say anything else, I just want to let everyone know that I'm not making fun of Deborah LaFave at all, like what I said in that video, like no one asked her for autographs. I thought that people would be like some people were like really thrilled about this story because I actually remember when it first happened back in 2004 because people online were talking about it, and I've been using the internet since I was a tyke. So yeah, but people were really thrilled and saying that she's beautiful and everything. So that's why I was wondering why she wasn't getting autographs. I'm not making fun of her, and I'm not making fun of the story, because it's not nice to make fun of a rape victim, really. She did have some serious psychological issues, and even while they were in Ocala, and she said that the boy's friends were high-fiving him and saying, oh, she's hot and everything, she thought of herself as one of the peers. Like, she took him on a road trip and took him out for smoothies and everything. And even took him to the mall so she can buy a present for her husband and took him to the mall with her. Well, the boy that she was having the affair with to the mall with her. She also had bipolar disorder. And, you know, if you listen to that documentary, I forgot to include this part in that scaled down documentary, that edited down version of the documentary that I just showed you guys. She was she had bipolar disorder, but it was misdiagnosed for depression, and she was treated for depression instead. And they said when you treat someone with bipolar disorder for depression instead, that makes it worse. And that is absolutely true, because I myself, in addition to my autism, I also have bipolar disorder. I usually don't tell people that because I don't want people to think that I'm some psychopath who swings left than right. But you know, when you're aware of it, you're more stabilized and everything. Like, I'm not on any bipolar medication at all, and I actually ran out of the one medication that I'm on actually right now, and it kind of sucks, but I'm trying to figure out how to get more. Yeah, it's taking a while, as you all should know. But that did make it worse. And it's so true, because they said that they become more sexualized and everything, and they become manic, and they have more manic episodes. That is absolutely true. And they said that she was put on Zoloft, and she said that she was on Zoloft, and she felt happy, but eventually it wore off of her, and it wasn't working, and she became immune to it. That's actually how meds are, like psychotropic meds. I even did an episode of Joe Winko talk about that. I'll have the link to that in the pinned comments as well, at the one called I Don't Need Meds or Therapy Because They Don't Do Shit, because that is absolutely true. And you know, she's really, really, really pretty. I think she's gorgeous. She looks like one of the girls I made in The Sims 2. And she got to become a model. I told you I was going to get back to this, but that's not fair at all. I always tried becoming a model, and you know, she said that people told her that she was really pretty, and people told her that she should model. Well, people have told me that I'm really handsome, and people told me that I should model, and I have tried becoming a model. I've tried becoming a model twice, submitted my pictures on different applications all over the internet, even posted on Craigslist. I did get contacted by one modeling agency, but they were just a bunch of scammers who were trying to take my money or something. Well, I didn't have any money, so that's the reason why they didn't work with me at all. They were trying to charge me $700 to work for them, and that was just really stupid, really. But it's not fair that she got to become a model, but I didn't. And you know, she probably should have just stuck with modeling, but about the whole model thing, that's honestly worthy of a whole new episode of Joe Winko Talk, my failed modeling career, which still kind of ticks me off to this day, even though it happened a long time ago when I tried becoming a model, but I did try becoming a model 2 years ago, but we're getting off topic. As for what she did, now, even in the documentary, the full documentary, which is I think it's either 40 or 20 minutes long, I'll have the link to it in the pinned comments. Even in the documentary, some people said that he said that some people will say that she didn't do anything wrong and that she didn't commit a crime at all, but other people will say that she committed a horrible crime. You know, personally, what I think she did was kind of whack and not good at all, and what I thought, it was kind of twisted and kind of gross on some level. I mean, because, like, why would you want to do anything with a 14-year-old? No offense to any 14-year-olds who are watching this video, but seriously, that's kind of weird. But, you know, I think there is one thing that we can all agree on, that she did not commit a violent crime at all. I don't think she committed a violent crime at all, because, now, people are going to get upset with me when I say this, but it is true. If you are a female, you cannot really force a man to have sex with you. Really, you can't force a man to have sex with you, because in order to get a man to have sex with you, you have to arouse him, you have to turn him on, and then he has to get a hard on, and he has to be able to fuck you with it. So, excuse my poor choice of language, but I'm just making sure you guys truly understand why I think that. So, yeah, hopefully you do. It's just like the movie The Hills Have Thighs. That was a porno remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I remember way back when I was a little kid, it was back during those Time Warner cable days where everyone was excited about having 500 channels. I remember back when I was 10 years old, I was up at 3 a.m. It was back in summer of 2006. And I was flipping through all the channels, and I was like really worn out and really tired. And I was also really obsessed with the movie The Hills Have Eyes. And Like, I changed to one channel, I was just flipping through them, and then it said The Hills Have Eyes is on this channel, and I was like, oh, cool, that's what I thought it said, but it really wasn't, and I turned it on, and then I was watching it, and it showed a bunch of views of the mountains, and this really cheesy music playing, and I was like, what? This doesn't look like a 70s movie. Then all of a sudden I see these girls, her legs were like spread open, and then this title appears that says The Hills Have Thighs, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And then once I started seeing the women's breasts and everything, and they were hugging and kissing on the man, I changed the channel because I knew it wasn't anything good. But I did read the movie summary, and it was about two sex-craved women hold a man captive. And you know, I actually did end up clicking back to it. And there was one part when the guy was like tied up in front of a campfire in the mountain, and then the blonde woman was getting on top of him, and then he was crying and everything, and he was going like, no, please, I wasn't ready! No, please, I wasn't ready! And then, you know, for some odd reason, I thought that was funny for some reason, because I knew that he wasn't really... I knew that he was just kidding, and that he didn't care that the woman was going to climb on top of him and start riding his cock back then, and I thought that was hilarious. And then the next day when my adoptive mother was awake, I told her about that, and I was laughing, and I said, there is this porno remake of The Hills Have Eyes called The Hills Have Thighs, and it was about these sex-craved women who were holding this man captive on a mountain, and then in one scene, they were getting on top of him, and he was crying, no, please, I wasn't ready! And then, you know, this is what my adoptive mother told me. She said, oh, well, there's not much they can do if he's not ready. And you know, that is absolutely true. So, no offense to anyone, not to make anyone mad, don't hate on me for it in the comments, but that is absolutely true. You cannot sexually assault a man if you're a female, unless she's like shoving random objects up his anus and shoving stuff up his ass. Then that would count as sexual assault, but I honestly highly doubt she was doing that. But if she really was fucked up enough to do something that sick to anyone, then she should be put in jail. But then again, I'm definitely sure she wasn't doing that at all, so yeah. But it really is true. You can't sexually assault a man if you're a woman, unless you like load him up on like a ton of Cialis pills, but either way, those take 45 minutes to take effect. And don't ask me how I know that, because you guys probably already figured out how I do. The sad thing is, I'm only 22 years old, I shouldn't know that, but diabetes is one hell of a medical condition, so let's move on. Enough about my anatomy. So, I honestly don't think it's right what she did, but I feel sorry that she had to suffer, like, for all the hardships in her life, like losing her sister and the whole sexual assault and everything. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that she got off easy, but, you know, in all honesty, she didn't get off easy. She's a sex offender right now. She's working as a waitress at a fast food place. Well, not a waitress, like a fast food server or something. I don't know if they call them waitress. And she lost her career that she worked so hard for and that she invested in. So she definitely didn't get off easy. She definitely got punished for it. And, you know, okay, here's where it gets personal. In all honesty, back when I was like 14 and 15 years old, I used to hook up with men on Grindr back when I was 14 and 15 years old. And that still is illegal for people to do that. And don't get me wrong, I definitely do not condone that at all. I do not condone anyone to hook up with underage people at all, because that is wrong, and that's breaking the law, and you will go to jail for it, and it's not right at all. But, you know, the truth is, none of those men ever got in trouble at all. None of the guys I hooked up with back when I was 14, 15, and 16 years old. But it was mostly because they weren't reported. But, you know, I feel that even if they were reported, like if I would have went up and told a cop in Wisconsin that I was hooking up with older guys, he would have just told me, oh, you're hooking up with older guys and now you're whining to me about it? Oh, fuck off, we have more important things to worry about. If you're that upset about hooking up with older guys, then get your stupid ass off the Grindr then. That's exactly what the cops of Wisconsin would have said, and it's absolutely true. I don't know, but let's just move on. But, she is really pretty, and I do think it's unfair that she got to become a model and I didn't, but she still is really pretty. And you know, in all honesty, if I wasn't a fucking flaming cocksucky fruitcake, cocksucky, not cocksucker, there's a big difference. That means I'm the one getting sucked, not I'm the one doing the sucking at all, because trust me, you don't want to stick anything in my mouth. I would totally love to be her boyfriend. And I would love for her to be my girlfriend if I wasn't a flaming fucking cocksucky fruitcake. I would love for her to be my girlfriend. And you know, I would have loved to go on a road trip with her to Ocala, Florida, because that sounds like a lot of fun, really. And she could even take me out to eat at the Waffle House while we're on our road trip in Ocala, Florida. Because as you all know, I love Waffle House. That's actually my favorite restaurant. It's my favorite restaurant ever. I truly love the Waffle House. But one thing I definitely wouldn't do, I would not have sex in a car though, because that's too risky. But I wouldn't do that anyway, because as you all know, I'm a fucking flaming fruitcake. I truly am one. Even though I try not to act like one, but that's kind of difficult when I'm filming an episode of Joe Winko Talk, so yeah, I got comments about that. Mostly from guys I talk to on Grindr, but, oh well, you can't let people bring you down. Another thing is, we would have something in common too, because I myself, I am also bipolar. And that's something we would both have in common with each other. And in all honesty, that's pretty much the only thing we would have in common with each other, too. So, yeah, that's basically it. So, what do you think of this whole story? What do you think of what happened? And what goes on in your mind when you see this video? Or when you hear about what Deborah LaFay did, or with both of them all combined going on in your mind? What do you think about all this, and what do you think of this whole story? So, make sure to let me know in the comments, really. A road trip to Ocala, Florida does sound like a lot of fun. But that's basically it for this episode of Joe Winko Talk. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. So that's it. Peace out, people.